We've got a great recipe for you in the kitchen here with Lucy from Greer's. Lucy, what are we working on today?
Today we are working on our panko crusted pork chops. Every week in our sales flyer, we have one of my recipes listed.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at it this week, and we have pork chops on sale, and this recipe was listed on there. So I was like, oh, that was a good one. So let me share that again. We are using a standard breading process today. So we'll talk about that and the ways that you do it, and it's very simple. And we are using our quarter loin pork chops today. I like to use, it has the bone inside, but you can see it's a small bone and there's tons of meat. So this is just a really good value. Sometimes when you're looking at pork chops, it's can be a bit overwhelming because there's a lot of different kinds.
Yeah, a lot of different cuts.
But all of our pork is cut right in house, and it's really, really good quality. And so with pork, and especially this one because it has a bone, since we cut everything in house, that's used on a saw. So it's always a good rule to rinse your pork off when you get it home, and then dry it off. So anyway, what I thought we could do first is talk about the process here. So, and I just brought two today, but of course you could up or down this recipe for however many you'd like to make. So in the first step, I just have plain flour. That's just half a cup right there, and you can use, of course, a plate or a shallow dish. And then the second step is going to be egg, and then the third step is going to be all of our kind of seasonings. So this is the panko. So we're using panko breadcrumbs, which is found right there by all the other breadcrumbs. It's just a coarser Japanese style breadcrumb, but it's right there, and it's just going to give us a little bit of more of a crunch, but you could use regular breadcrumbs too. And then I have Parmesan cheese, and then I have some oregano, garlic powder, a little bit of salt, and some chipotle chili powder, which I like. It has a lot of good flavor in there.
Yeah.
And if you can't find that one, or you don't have it, you can use regular chili powder, but I really like that one. So that is going to be our topping. So we'll get some of these breaded up a little bit later.
Yeah, I love how you added some of that chipotle pepper in there. You got to have a little bit of extra something in there, not that it's going to be hot or anything like that. You just want some sort of spice in there.
Exactly, and it gives a little bit of good color too. So there's a little bit of red going through there, so it's going to be really pretty when they fry up. So we kind of have all of our steps going, and we'll get moving next.
All right, a classic recipe, easy to make at home, so delicious. Who doesn't like a panko Parmesan crusted pork chop?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? All right, so we're going to continue this process next right here on Studio 10.
Welcome back to Studio 10. Lucy is live in the kitchen with us. Lucy, it's good to see you.
You too.
Yes. Okay, we are making something delicious this morning. You're making panko Parmesan pork chops.
Yes, and we have our breading process set up. So we have plain flour here. We have a couple eggs just scrambled here, and then we made our panko Parmesan mixture, which was panko breadcrumbs, just some Parmesan cheese grated. We just add a little bit of oregano, some salt, some garlic powder, and a little bit of that chipotle chili powder.
Yum.
And so in this pan, we have, I have probably like a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil over medium-high heat. So now we're ready. And we talked about our pork chops a little bit. I'm just using quarter loin pork chops. They have, it's just a good value. There's a bone in there, so it's going to help this stay nice and moist. A lot of people kind of sometimes shy away from pork chops because they think they get too dry. But this is a really good option, and doing them on the stovetop is also kind of a good way to ensure that that they stay a little bit moist.
Right.
So I did a little bit of salt and pepper on this, and I'm just going to do the other side, and I'm just going to do one at a time, and I'll do one in the next segment so everybody can catch it. So the step first, after we season it, is we put it in our flour, and this is just a standard breading process.
Yeah.
And then dip it in our egg.
Yum. Do you only do this process once?
Yes, good question. And you can do this with chicken, of course. Anything you want, shrimp, I mean, would be great.
Yeah.
Anything. And it's so funny. I have a friend, Mary Kyle, and she texted me the other day. She's like, I cannot get this panko bread crumb thing. I'm like, well, you only have to do, the steps. And she texted me last night, coincidentally, and she had done chicken, and it looked great. So as long as you follow these steps, you'll be good.
Whatever meat.
Yes, so we're just going to we're going to cook them on each side just for a few minutes, get them nice and brown, and depending on how thick they are. So you can of course just finish them on the cooktop, cook them all the way through here. You want pork to be 145 degrees internal temperature, or you could just brown it for a couple of minutes and then pop them in the oven on a sheet pan to finish cooking them. So just depending on how you want to do it.
Smells amazing.
I know, so we'll let that go.
So good. Let's talk about 4th of July really quickly,
Okay.
and your guys' anniversary, birthday party, all the good stuff.
Yes, it's so hard to believe that we're already thinking about the 4th of July. And so that's next weekend. So, of course, July is a really big month for us. So we kick off our anniversary in July. And so we're celebrating our 107th year
Wow.
this year. So the 4th of July is, of course, really big for the grocery stores and amazing ads and sales. And then the 2 weeks following the 4th of July are our 2 anniversary weeks. So every store will have a special event and giveaways and prizes. So all of that will be posted on social and, of course, in store as well. So right after the 4th of July, the fun does not end.
That's
at
right.
Greer's.
It just keeps going at
Yeah.
Greer's. When we come back, we will finish this pork chop. We'll tell you more about what
Ooh,
you need
looks
to know
good.
about the 4th. And this looks fabulous, and it smells even better. We'll have more on fox10tv.com.
Back in the Studio 10 kitchen with Lucy from Greer's. We just had a doctor on the show. He was like, my wife's going to make this recipe tonight when she watches this show.
Good.
So you've already got one happy customer.
Yeah, I mentioned that I noticed that this recipe was in our sales paper this week, and when I was looking at just what we have on sale, and so I was like, oh, these pork chops are on sale. And so if you don't go online and print out the recipe, you can get it right there in the store this week in the sales paper. So we already have breaded 1 pork chop, and we have that finishing in the oven. So I was just going to do another one just in case anybody missed it. So in this skillet, I just have a little bit of butter and olive oil over medium-high heat, and then just depending on how many pork chops you're doing, you just kind of add as you need,
Sure.
And then we have our station set up. So I have plain flour here, plain eggs, just whisk those up, and then our topping here, which was panko breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese, a little bit of garlic powder, oregano, some chipotle chili powder, and a little bit of salt. So those, we're using panko breadcrumbs, which make the crust just a little more crispy than normal breadcrumbs, but you can certainly do the same thing with normal breadcrumbs. So, salt and peppered both of our sides of our pork chop here. And these are quarter loin pork chops. They have the bone in them, just a little bone, and it's going to keep it nice and moist like we were talking about as we cook these.
But
So-
if you do want the boneless option, you
Oh,
have
yeah.
several options at Greer's for sure, right?
Absolutely, yes, and any thickness.
Yeah.
And so I was saying too that you can certainly finish these in the skillet, but sometimes if you have something that's too thick, it's just easier to just go ahead and finish it in the oven, which I kind of like too, because then I can kind of get everything cleaned up and finish the rest of the meal while those are finishing in the oven instead of having to babysit them on the stovetop.
Yeah.
So now we just put it in here, and I already cooked one, so that's why it's has everything. It actually is probably ready. We could probably, you want to pull it out? So again, just depending on the thickness of the pork chop, you'll just finish it until the internal temperature is 145 degrees for pork. So pretty.
It is a perfect golden brown.
It
Lucy.
is. It
Take a
smells
look
good.
at that.
I smell the Parmesan cheese.
Yep.
And we're talking, you could of course do this with chicken or fish. I mean, you could do this with shrimp would be good too. So definitely kind of it's certainly easy. It's certainly something that the kids could help with and get involved too. So we'll just cook it for a couple minutes on each side until it gets nice and golden, and then, like I said, finish it here on the stovetop. You would just maybe turn the heat down a little bit if you're going to finish it on the stovetop, or finish it in the oven.
Couple of different options for you here.
Yeah.
Great stuff. You can find the recipe online at Greer's. You can find it on the Studio 10 tab at fox10tv.com. Another great recipe, and like I said, it's really one that you're not going to have a lot of dissent to a Panko Parmesan crusted pork chop.
No.
Great stuff. Lucy, good to see you as
Thank
always.
you.